We can see Donna sitting at her computer and looking at her smartphone, where we see Jeremy preparing for the lesson by aiming his smartphone so Donna can see his hands on his keyboard. The APH street crossing program is queued up to start Module A7, comparing warning times of approaching vehicles with crossing time. They know that Jeremy hears the computer prompts about a half second after it plays on Donna's computer, and when completing Module A5 to calibrate Jeremy's time needed to press the button, they found that he presses it about a half second after the prompt. You had said you were particularly cautious, so I think I made the right decision. Well, I just want to check it in with you. Your actual crossing time was 9 seconds, 4 to the middle. Because there seemed to be about a half a second from when I could hear it on my computer and when I could hear it on your computer, I added I couldn't add a half a second to the crossing time. It wouldn't allow that. So your crossing time is in the computer as being 10 seconds. Your half time is 5 seconds. So it may be, and this will be, if there is a mistake, it'll be on the margin of error that you know, you're going to be thinking that it will slap you on the wrist for thinking that you had enough time, and maybe you did, because maybe it was only, you know, it was 9 seconds and she thinks it's going to take you 10 seconds to cross. Does that make sense?
I think so. So you added a second to my time.
Yes. So the computer thinks...
That's because there's latency in timing from when I press.
Yes.
So I should still go with what feels like my time.
Yes. And if you'd like, we can have this just read you the instructions, and
sure.
It's going to make you test your headphones again, but you won't have to press the button. All right, I'm going to put myself on mute.
Module A7, learning to compare warning time, detection to arrival, to crossing time. Okay, now that you have an intuitive understanding of the passage of time that you need to reach the middle and finish crossing a given street, let us see if you can figure out if you have enough warning time for approaching vehicles at that street. Warning time means the time from when you first heard something that might be a vehicle coming until the time that the vehicle reaches your crossing. The technical name for that is the vehicle's detection to arrival time. So here is what I want you to do. While we play a recording, you listen for approaching vehicles, and press the space bar the instant that you think there is something that might be a vehicle coming. Do not wait to be sure whether it is a vehicle or not. We want to know the very moment that you first detected even a hint of an approaching vehicle. If you press this space bar and then realize it is not a vehicle, continue to listen, and press the space bar again when you think you hear what might be a vehicle approaching. Continue to listen to the recording of the vehicle approaching, and after it reaches you, I want you to decide if the warning time for that vehicle was longer or shorter than your crossing time, or if the warning time for the vehicle was so close to your crossing time that you could not determine whether it was shorter or longer. If you think your warning time is shorter than your crossing time, press the S key, S for shorter. If you think your warning time is longer than your crossing time, press the L key, L for longer. If you think your warning time is too close to your crossing time to say whether it is shorter or longer, press the T key, T for too close. You are correct. You made a good estimate. As you indicated, your warning time for this vehicle is longer than your crossing time for the first half of the street. If you had started the crossing before you could hear a vehicle, you would have crossed the first half of the street before this vehicle could reach you. Let's try another vehicle. correct. You made a good estimate. As you indicated, your warning time for this vehicle is longer than your crossing time for the first half of the street. Let's try another vehicle. You are correct. You made a good estimate. As you indicated, your warning time for this vehicle is longer than your crossing time for the first half of the street. Let's try another vehicle. You are correct. You made a good estimate. As you indicated, your warning time for this vehicle is longer than your time for crossing the entire street. Let's try another vehicle. You are correct. You made a good estimate. As you indicated, your warning time for this vehicle is longer than your time for crossing the entire street.
Awesome.
You are correct. You made a good estimate. As you indicated, your warning time for this vehicle is longer than your time for crossing the entire street. Let's try another vehicle. You are correct. You made a good estimate. As you indicate, let's try another vehicle. Press N. You are correct. You made a good estimate. As you indicated, your warning time for this vehicle is shorter than your crossing time for the first half of the street. Let's try another vehicle. Press N. You pressed a key that was not the space bar when the vehicle was approaching. Let's try this vehicle again. Press P to... You are correct. You made a good estimate. As you indicated, your warning time for this vehicle is shorter than your time for crossing the entire street. Let's try another vehicle. You are correct. You made a good estimate. As you indicated, your warning time for this vehicle is about the same as your crossing time for the entire street. Let's try another vehicle. Press A. You are correct. You made a good estimate. As you indicated, your warning time for this vehicle is longer than your crossing time for the first half of the street. Let's try another. You are correct. You made a good estimate. As
Way
you
to go!
Your warning time for this vehicle is longer
This is
than
a
your
record.
time for crossing the entire street. If you had started this is the 12th time that you have decided correctly that your warning time was longer, about the same as, or shorter than your crossing time. Congratulations.
Well, way to go!
Thank you.
I echo her in congratulations. You didn't get a single one wrong. Was it hard?
You know, for whatever reason, by the fourth real vehicle,
Yeah.
by the third, something changed in my headphones where it became the stereo became much clearer.
Oh.
And so up until then, there was the first car I thought that was coming from the right was actually coming from the left.
Oh, wow.
From there on, it was very clear, and at that point, it was the only time it was iffy were twice when I thought I heard a car, and then listened a second longer and realized I hadn't yet heard a car.
Oh, yeah.
But aside from that, no.
Yeah.
Listening to the weight of the vehicles and the size and the
What
velocity,
size and
what kind of
velocity?
tires they were using, and even picturing the color of the trucks that were coming by, and thinking about the driver that was driving way too fast for that particular road.
And he was reading his phone at the time, right?
I'm not sure what he was doing, but he was going way too fast.
Well, in our research, by the way, the loudness of the car had nothing to do with how much warning time it gave. Nothing. Totally unrelated. Yeah, blew our minds. And the speed had almost nothing to do with it. It was very surprising. But anyway, did you imagine yourself crossing after, when you pressed the thing, did you imagine yourself crossing? Or how did you make that estimate that it was?
I was estimating based on the sound itself, and
Oh, really?
I guess the best way to say it is imagining in my mind how far down the street that vehicle is based on its sound.
Okay. So you weren't kind of picturing yourself crossing and, oh gosh, he got there before I finished.
Towards the end, I was.
Yeah.
It was more helpful with crossing both lanes of traffic than
Yes.
the first lane. The first lane was easy. The first lane was like,
Yeah, you could tell that was.
I have 5 heartbeats. I've got to cross whatever. But
Yeah.
crossing both lanes, I guess crossing both lanes, by the time the car crossed my plane, perpendicular to me,
Yes.
I just knew.
Oh,
I
God.
had a sense. This was long enough, and this was not long enough. Based on
Wow. In your gut then, it just thought, oh, or, yeah, I'm good.
Yep. Yeah, that was perfectly safe. I timed the spare on that one. Absolutely.
Well,
There was
Jeremy,
only one that was even close where I considered I could hit a T here, but
yeah,
the truth is I know it was sufficient.
yeah. So you hit that it was too close to tell, and she could tell.
I could have,
Yeah.
and I would have been okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, mentally anyway. The computer would give whatever judgment the computer
Yeah.
would. But mentally, I was like, all right, this one's actually relatively close, but it was still maybe 2 seconds or second and a half, 2.5 seconds, somewhere in there.
That
But
he had
that's
freedom.
enough time.
Yeah. Well, actually, she does not allow you If it's within a second of the crossing time and you say that was plenty, she smacks you on the hand and says, no, that was too close to tell. So you actually nailed it. And I'm so glad to hear that towards the end, you weren't having to think that hard. It was more in the gut, huh? It was just like, ooh, that's, Well, that's what we're going for.
It's very realistic to what my experience is.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. It sounds like you have this kind of an internal gut where in the beginning you were thinking, you were concentrating, you were thinking about what color was the car and was he texting and whatever. And after a while it was like, oh, no, it's good, or it's, no, that's
I was
not.
actually, once I got comfortable, once the gut kicked in, I was just picturing the vehicle as it passed. I was listening to it, and then when it passed, I just saw whatever vehicle my mind had put there making that noise.
And you felt in your gut.
I saw something pass in front of me, felt the breeze coming by,
and I guess
kind of muscle memory.
Muscle memory. And were you thinking that as it passed by, where you'd be, like, oh, I'd be having coffee on the other side by now, or I would be,
No, so to answer the question again, no, I don't think I actually crossed the street in my mind. So I evaluated from the beginning of the street and said, no, and that's where I was. I was watching across and said, no, that wasn't enough time.
Wow.
Which I guess is calibrations I'm doing until I actually cross. Every car that's passing is a calibration.
Yes, with what you had developed with your internal intuitive understanding. Well, this is so exciting, Jeremy. This is going so well. All right, so the next module is to take more of a scenario. So it's going to be more than one. It's going to be 3 or 4 approaching vehicles. And you need to decide if it's a situation of uncertainty, meaning that you don't have enough warning, or not.